Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Stop Loss with Spencer. This is installment 6, I believe. And today we are talking about Agg Specs. Agg Specs, Spencer. I'm excited about this one. And I know I have to say that, right? If I didn't say I wasn't excited about the video, you'd be like, well, why am I going to watch this video? He's not excited about it. But I am excited about this video because, one, I've had a couple people specifically request the Agg Spec explanation. And two, I honestly think it's kind of cool. I like explaining this because it challenges your brain. It stretches your understanding of stop loss, okay? So aggregating spec, or Agg Spec as it's kind of commonly understood, is kind of what you're thinking already, right? Agg Spec. I know what a spec is. I know what an Agg Spec. So Agg Spec must be some combination of two, right? It's an Agg Spec. It's like a hybrid spec. And before we get into the text, please don't read the text. If you're reading the text right now, you're ignoring this. And if you're looking at this, you're ignoring the words I'm saying. So listen to me, and we'll go through this, and we'll go through that. But I want to start with an analogy before I go into the full explanation, because I think it'll be really useful. In this analogy, I'm going to give a shout out to an individual that I heard him use this analogy on a webinar a few weeks back, and I thought it was brilliant. It perfectly sums up what an Agg Spec is. So big shout out to Scott Campbell of AmWins. He used the analogy to help explain an Agg Spec of a gift card. So we all know what a gift card is, right? You buy a gift card at Target, $100 gift card, you now get to spend $100 at Target, but you can only spend $100 at Target. Well, an Agg Spec works kind of the same way. You add a 50K Agg Spec, and don't worry, I'm going to explain it, but you add a 50K Agg Spec to your plan, well, that carrier is going to give you, most often, a $50,000 reduction in premium. But that $50,000 reduction in premium is just not a gift, right? You don't just get 50 grand cash. You have to use that $50,000 to pay for this layer of claims. So that's where the gift card comes in. You are now using that gift card, if it comes into play, to spend on these claims. So again, big shout out to Scott Campbell. I think that really, really makes sense, and I hope you don't mind me using it. But now let's talk about logistics. What is actually an Agg Spec in the real world? Well, if you have not seen that first video with spec insurance and ag insurance explained, stop. This is going to be so over your head, you might as well be listening to it in Russian, okay? But if you have watched that, then you should remember what a specific deductible is. Specific deductible, 100K, spec, okay? We all remember that, right? Each individual has to go over $100,000. Well, now we have another layer of risk put on top of that, a 50K Agg Spec. So let's look at some individual examples, and I'll show you how those start accumulating into each bucket. First claimant, $125,000 claim. Normally, specific stop loss only, that is a $25,000 reimbursement, but not when you have an Agg Spec. Next claimant, $110,000. Again, normally $10,000 would be reimbursed under the specific portion of the contract, not when you have an Agg Spec, okay? But keep in mind, these are now accumulating. This is a shared layer. Whether one individual blows through both layers or multiple individuals breach the first layer and then add together to satisfy that second layer, okay? So we now have 25,000 and 10,000, 25, 10. That bucket is starting to fill up. But that's only 35,000 in total. We haven't met the 50 yet. No reimbursement yet. Now we have claimant 3, $145,000. Okay, so it looks like, simple math really quickly, we're over, and we are. But all $45,000 of that guy's or gal's spec claim doesn't stick in this bucket. Just because one individual immediately went through it and all of them are together equal 80,000 doesn't mean, well, 80,000 because it all happened at that time. No. The only portion of this claim that needs to be satisfied to get us from that 35 that I added here to the 50 is $15,000 out of this claim. So now the employer bucket is full. Their cup runneth over, okay? So we've now, obviously this layer has to be breached no matter what. But now, collectively, these three people have satisfied that second layer. That bucket is full, and the rest of it is now falling into the employer bucket. So I did that math again. I'll reiterate it. All these people are $80,000 over the spec. You only need $50K to go in the employer bucket. You now have $30,000 spilling over into the carrier's bucket, which is where reimbursement starts to kick in. And I've got a little infinity sign again because I talk about theoretically unlimited max, right? This could be $25 billion of claims, God forbid. I don't know what's going on. But that could happen. The carrier is satisfying or paying or reimbursing every dollar above that for eligible claims. So, shared layer, or as I said, this one person could have a $200K claim and they've blown through both layers. So it doesn't mean just because it's shared or pooled or aggregated, doesn't mean one individual can't also go through both layers. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about why. And here's the big reveal. I have a yardstick. If you ever wondered how I ended up with such straight lines, I cheat, okay? But I'm going to use this yardstick because I don't want to get in front of the graph. I had some folks tell me that my framing kind of sucked. I was getting in front of stuff, so I'm going to try and stay out of the way. So now I'm going to point like a teacher from the 1930s. So why? Talked about already. Premium goes down. 50K Agg Spec, most of the time you're getting a $50,000 reduction in premium. Not always. There's all sorts of really nuanced underwriting restrictions, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to say it right this time, all intents and purposes, your premium is going to go down dollar for dollar. Next reason why, pointing again, heads you win, tails you break even. This is why I really, really like Agg Specs. Heads you win, meaning I got a $50,000 reduction in premium. If I didn't pay any claims, there's no claims that breach that spec, well, guess what? I saved 50 grand. But what happens if I do have to use that gift card, remember? Well, you got the $50,000 reduction in premium, so yeah, you paid $50,000 more in claims. That's pretty easy math. 50 minus 50 is 0. So you broke even, worst case scenario. That's why I love Agg Specs. And again, this is just, well, I keep wanting to point, but I got a pointer. I don't know why I do that. Risk shifting, all right? Risk shifting. You are basically saying, yeah, reduce my premium, I'll take a little more risk on. This is where the underwriters come in. This is where your own actuarial department, your consultant comes in and says, hey, here's why I believe it's appropriate to shift this risk over to our plate. Offset lasers. I also like this reason. You won't always get an underwriter to agree to it, but let's say you had a little bitty laser. You had a 100K spec and you had them slap on a $125,000 laser. Well, you're not going to probably get a reduction in premium for that if you accept that laser. But what if you said, well, why don't I just throw a 50K Agg Spec on? You reduce my premium by 50 grand and I don't need that laser anymore. Oftentimes, if it's that close, stop loss carrier will accept that. It's a good negotiating tactic. Better than an experience refund. Use your yardstick, dummy. Better than an experience refund. I really believe this, and there's one reason why. It's better than an experience refund because experience refunds cost you money. If a carrier says, hey, I'll give you an experience refund and there's a 10% possible dividend or return of premium if you have a good claims experience, great. Then you go, well, how much are you charging me for this? And they go, well, it's probably like 5%. Why would you pay 5% to potentially get 10% back? Why not just reduce your premium? And if it goes well, you got a $50,000 reduction in premium and you didn't have to pay for it. Your premium went down, not up. And lastly, let's not ever discount this reason. Agg Specs, they're pretty fun, right? This is pretty cool. Look at all the buckets and the water and the graphs and the layers and the text and the yardsticks. Hey, we're having fun, right? But anyway, guys, I really appreciate you watching. This was one that I was really looking forward to. I hope a lot of folks find this valuable. This has been Aggregating Specs, Stop Loss with Spencer. Comment below, questions. Let me know if something didn't make sense or if the text was too small or if you really want the yardstick to make another guest spot appearance. I could do that too. All right. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.